Hello, strong soul. Great to see you in another moment of the now. Today's transmission is more on the slow paced side, and it has to do with simple living, slow living, um, there's different ways to approach this kind of lifestyle, whether it's like minimalism of the mind, of the spirit, of the material world, cutting off or leaving behind baggage or things that are unnecessary in order to achieve a more slow paced, peaceful lifestyle. So, one way to develop a simple life, lower the stressors, because as great as it is to build resilience and learn how to navigate stress and difficulty, it's also important to observe if there are ways in which you can reduce stress within your environment, within your life, right? By reducing the complexity of your lifestyle. I know that personally, that's something that has really helped me with my mental, like psychological, emotional well being, simplifying things and reducing the amount of baggage, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. So we do a deep cleaning, and that's something that you keep on doing because clutter adds up really quickly and very suddenly. So, anyways, with regards to the simple life, an approach, an attitude that we can take is radical honesty. And let me tell you why. Radical honesty begins with yourself, and then it expands to other aspects of your life, like your relationships, like the material things that you own, like the life that you carry, because a lot of the times we are in some way conscious or unconsciously being dishonest about what's really serving us, or why do we actually own what we do, or why do we carry the relationships that we do. And when we begin to imprint radical honesty, first and foremost within ourselves, and then into the things that we do, everything begins to align. Mind you, that alignment can bring along some collapse, or breaking down of structures or relationships that are not in vibration, in harmony with radical honesty. So if you begin to be very honest and things, aspects in your life begin to fall apart, this is a great moment to observe what was not in alignment. Because the more you begin to be honest, the more dishonest people begin to feel irritated around you or frustrated, and they may tell you like, oh, you've changed, right? Like this, the clearest example is like, oh, you don't gossip anymore, or you don't, like, you're not falling into the drama. It's just like, you're just like, you know what, I couldn't be bothered anymore. Like, I cherish my inner peace so much, so gathering with people that gossip or that feel better when other people do worse, lower vibrational mindsets based on like insecurity or anxiety or fears, and you realize how much it drains your simple life, you begin to organize accordingly. And sometimes we're like, oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this person, or that relationship faded away. It was probably not in vibration with what you're striving for, which is a simple life. And again, radical honesty, it's a great frequency to begin to imprint in order to declutter. And there's different techniques to declutter. Like I said, there's in with regards to relationships, with regards to physical things that you own, and being radically honest. Why do you own that? Does it bring you joy? Does it make you happy? Does it bring value into your life, or you're just keeping it from a sense of lack, or from a sense of fear, or from a sense of um, yeah, just some sort of fear or anxiety behind that object, and just carrying that object or having that object around your house, it's going to permeate more of the same. So sometimes it's nice to just declutter and get rid of a lot of stuff. And then if you need them, you might as well get them again or sort something out. Like, there's different techniques there to declutter. Sometimes you can have like a space where you get rid of things previous to actually getting rid of them from your house. So you keep them for 6 months. And if you don't use them within 6 months, you start to realize that they're not really essential, right? And like this, you can just navigate with different ways, like even the digital world or the virtual world within your devices, to start decluttering all of this stuff that we're sometimes hoarding for the next day. And then next thing we know, there's a change of era and that's not of service anymore. right? It's just like seasonal clothes. Like if you live in a place where there's different seasons, you save some clothes. But let's say that you were to move and there's clothes that you're never going to use, or if you are, you will get them when you get there. The idea here is to lighten up the way you live. um, like I said, there's physical aspects to it, there's relationship aspects. The relationship aspects impact a lot of planes of your existence. It has to do with your mental health, with your emotional health, with your psychological health. So really observing, being radically honest with you, what stresses you out the most, and assess first inwards if there's an attitude that you could shift or that you can change, or a perspective or attitude that you can develop in order to navigate that situation more maturely, or if it's something that you can just get rid of within your life. And again, it's not black or white, it's sometimes a little bit of both, where you change your attitude, then the relationship begins to shift, and it's either for the best or for the best case scenario, even if that relationship fades away, but then that brings you inner peace, right? So if you develop the attitude that everything is for the benefit of the evolution of your soul, whether things is not necessarily they work out the way you want them or don't want them, you just understand that if something sticks around your life when you're making a decree of radical honesty, then they're in vibration with that, and if they fade away, then they were not in vibration, in harmony in the first place. So this is not necessarily for the faint of heart. I recognize that the souls that resonate with this message have been through the wars, and all we're asking is resilience for this last challenge. You've gone through so much that in order to create a checkpoint from here, in order to level up for good, we need to make shifts. Like I said, it starts with ourselves, decluttering our, maybe like overcoming unhealthy mental attitudes, unhealthy emotional attitudes, psychological attitudes, and we begin to declutter there. Is this mindset really benefiting me? Is the way that I react to these emotions benefiting me? Is this psychological behavior benefiting me? Like you begin to declutter there. I find it very helpful to accompany these shifts by shifting as well my environment, by decluttering, by cleaning, by really getting rid of things that I may be strongly emotionally attached, but it may be coming from a place when there was a lot of trauma or a lot of hurt or a lot of loss or a sense of lack. So we're not necessarily holding things for the right reasons, if you may, or for evolutionary purposes. It's more from a place of loss. So just mind the kind of energies that you're surrounding yourself with. And sometimes we had this idea of what if, or this should be, and maybe, but it's been 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and we're still holding on to these objects in case that happens. And again, I leave it up to you to assess, because maybe it's an internal shift that needs to take place, but sometimes shifting our environment, clearing things up, decluttering really helps clear up space, because there's that projection inwards, outwards, outwards, inwards. And a clean and tidy environment promotes a clean and tidy environment inwards, right? And if you find that your house or wherever you live gets messy or cluttered very quickly, it means that maybe you have more than you can handle. And it's very humble. And again, we go back to radical honesty. Do I own more than I can take? Maybe I have just too much, and it's okay to sometimes do a bit of a reset and clear up things and trust in your ability to get anything that you need in order for the evolution of your soul moving forwards. Anything that you need in order to evolve within your soul will be provided. You'll figure it out. You have that power. So it's not the radical honesty, but also trusting yourself in the process. And it's okay to let go. It's overcoming the fear of leaving things behind. And as you begin to shift, I recommend to approach slowing down, like a slow down approach, right? Slow living, so that you can really begin to assess your environment outwards. And like I said, inwards. See how you respond to different relationships, to different behaviors, to things that you might have changed. And the attitude of like, it is what it is, or let it slide, sometimes works, but sometimes you also need to put boundaries. You also need to be vocal about your needs. You need to be radically honest with people and tell them, you know what, this really makes me anxious. This impacts my mental health. I need to take a break. Just like you detox sometimes with food, or you clear up your closet. Sometimes you need to tell people, you need to let people know that you're going through this process. I'm detoxing, so I just don't want to surround myself with people that constantly gossip. I don't want to bring other people down in order to feel better about myself. And I say this because relationships can be very subtle, they can be challenging, especially when they're close ones or family. It's like, oh, but how am I going to do that? Again, it's overcoming the fear of leaving things behind or being left behind, because sometimes there's this unconscious urge to belong, so we just become loyal to unhealthy behaviors or unhealthy relationships out of the fear of being left behind. And sometimes it's okay to be left behind so that you can assess yourself and catch up, right? Like if everybody's heading up and you need to tie your laces, it's better to tie your laces than to fall or trip moving forwards and then blaming somebody else, being like, oh, I didn't tie my shoes because you were rushing. At some point you have to be responsible for yourself and do things for the sake of your own self. And if people need to keep on going, it's okay to know that you have what it takes to stay behind for as long as it's needed, so that you can recalibrate, so that you can balance, so that you can slow down. And never be surprised if other people start catching up with you. Instead, they'll be like, I'll have what they're having. They seem more relaxed, they seem more laid back, they seem less stressed, right? Because there's this mechanism where we see everybody rushing and we feel that there's something wrong with us because we're not rushing with everybody else. And sometimes we don't understand that everybody's running in a frequency of anxiety. So belonging to a sick, not necessarily like a society or a group of people, is not necessarily healthy. It's not necessarily normal. Normalizing sickness, for example, or normalizing unhealthy behaviors doesn't mean that you have to adapt to that. And if there's something within you telling you like this doesn't feel right, or I need to do something that may look different, and I may be left behind, or I maybe need to leave some stuff behind, it's okay. And that's where radical honesty comes through, because radical honesty at some point becomes non-negotiable. Your inner peace, your well-being is not negotiable, because you're the one who's going to be accountable for your decisions. So if you make decisions that make you anxious because you want to make other people happy, nobody's going to be there with you when you're going through that anxiety. So if you're going to be responsible for the consequences of your actions, I mind you, or I recommend that you really mind where you're making decisions from. Are you making them out of fear, or out of, again, the fear of being left behind? Or are you making them from a place of assertiveness, being like, you know what, even if these choices make others leave me behind, or I have to leave some stuff behind, I'm okay with it, because I understand that the consequences are beneficial for the evolution of my soul. And being radically honest takes time. It's a muscle. It hurts, especially with oneself, when you realize that maybe you've been postponing yourself for so long. And we go through a grieving process, be like, oh wow, I did, or didn't do all of this for myself for so long, thinking that I was being loyal to other people. And I bet I can guarantee to you that the best thing you can do for yourself is stop postponing yourself, start shining, start investing in yourself. Because even if at the beginning it feels odd, or you throw off other people, or you throw off your environment, it's going to pay off. And eventually, people that appreciate you and that truly love you, they're going to be happy. People that truly love you love seeing you happy, love seeing you thrive. And even if initially they don't understand, or they're concerned that you're shifting too much, as you begin to grow into your nature and nurture yourself, they'll begin to get it. But don't expect everybody to jump in right away and see or dream the dreams that you have. Not everybody's meant to see your dreams. Not everybody's meant to understand your purpose or your passion. But that's not up to them. That's up to you. So are you willing to postpone yourself just because somebody else has another dream, or because maybe somebody else already gave up on their dreams? It's a very costly decision to make. So I do commend you to practice radical honesty and start little by little. When you have an interaction, check in with yourself. Honestly, how do I feel? Not very well every time I hang out with this person. Or when you come into an environment, you're like, honestly, how do I feel? I don't love it because it's cluttered or it's dirty. Do something, fix it. You have the capacity to fix it. Nobody's saying tackle all of the obstacles at the same time today, right? It's just take little tasks day by day that bring you closer to your authentic self, that help you cultivate that radical honesty within yourselves. And this is like, again, the bottom line is becoming responsible for your own life, for your own self, for your own happiness, because there's a lot to celebrate. You are a beautiful soul. You have a lot to bring into the crew, to life, to the people around you. And it's time that you celebrate. It's time that you get rid of all of the shame and the self-pity, and you start being honest regardless, radically honest regardless, unapologetically honest. And I can guarantee you'll have a lot to celebrate. And within 6 months to a year, you will not even recognize yourself and how far you've come. It really, really pays off. So, this is just one simple yet deep approach in which you can begin to architect and create a simple life that brings you more inner peace, more joy, less stress. Um, Simplicity is really, it's just sometimes so simple we take it for granted, yet I invite you to dive deeper into it. And as for me, I will see you in another moment of the now.